Now today I noticed while changing my oil surfacing, you look around everything, and I want you to just look how just rusted out these bolts, these U-bolts are. Now look at the space between them. They are living on borrowed time. You can see the jagged edges of the rust that's coming through, and how much space it is between the other two. Look at them bolts. Look at the bolt hangers. That is really rough. Look, I've already replaced this other side. If you'll look how much better that looks, and there's still plenty of structural left. I don't really know what you can do if you've got one just over rusted. This is not a vehicle I'm going to rebuild anyway. Now I picked up some bolts, some new U-bolts from Rough Country, and you'll be surprised just how much better after I put some Black Star and clean them up a little bit, just how much improvement it'll come back. Rust, the way that rust looks, it looks like it's a whole lot worse than what it is, because rust is when it starts growing on one, it's really the thickness of the rust is not as much deterioration of the metal if you look at it. But you'll see when I get these changed out what I have to do and how it comes out. Now when you're removing this, you want to be sure just do one side at a time, because of the stresses that's being put on while it's hanging with between your drive shaft stress and the weight and the off weight that the rear differential poses. You'll really have to fight in order to try to handle it if you take both sides off. Now we'll make sure that we've got the differential supported as close to the leaf spring as possible. I'm lucky I've got a lift and I use a screw jack, but if you're on the ground you can also use a floor jack. Just when you start seeing the vehicle's weight come off the ground, then you're in good shape. On a lift, I just start to see, when I start seeing the leaf springs start to push up, then I know I'm in good shape. All the weight is actually off the rear end where it's not trying to drop down. Now with me, what I've done is, if you've got a saw, you can cut partially way through the U-bolt. Then you can take through, and instead of cutting it all the way out, you can take in a big breaker bar and put on the actual nut and twist, and that'll break off. Well, that's half the problem. There's no turning back now. Now if you're fortunate enough like me and you got a plasma cutter, that's the way to go. But you got to be careful. You don't want to make sure that you've got no fuel leaking anywhere, or you'll have a big bonfire going on. Now I'm going to take and clean that up, and then we'll do the other side same way. Now I'm going to take and treat this with Black Star. You'll be amazed just how much that rust it does kill off. And like I said, the structure of the metal is still good. While I'm at it, I'm going to soak this thoroughly with Black Star as well. And you'll see the big difference in the two after I'm done. Now you can see here just how much an improvement that Black Star has already made on the rust, as far as killing the rust off, and you don't see any jagged edges. Now typically a U-bolt is sprung out, and I take me a couple of wire ties and pull it together. That way I can line it up with the holes. It just makes it easier to put the lower mount through, instead of wrestling, trying to squeeze them together and put it up inside there. Now I'll take and measure and make sure that these are lined up. But I did find out here that the actual diameter of the U-bolts are bigger than the holes that's in the lower support. So I got to take and drill them out. I'll just open them up a little bit to 11/16. But I'm lined up perfectly well there. Now all I got to do is take it over to the drill press and punch these 4 holes out to 11/16. Now it'd be a whole lot easier now if I go ahead and mark this and take them off. Go ahead and cut them down to the size I want them. Now I'm going to take and go ahead and cut the cut 2 inches on 2-inch thread length. Just a smidge over 2 inches, look like 2 1/8. Now I didn't use my plasma cutter on the reason that I didn't want to change the heat treat of the material, and it might leave some slag, so I just used my saw and cut it off, and then took a whiz wheel and kind of beveled it just a little bit so that the nuts would start good. Now we can go ahead and get rid of the wire ties, and we're ready to pull it up. We're going to pull it up all evenly, and then we can torque it down to specs. Now you'll notice that all these nuts are locking nuts. They've got a nylon thread locker built into them, so it'll take a little bit to get them run up. Now I'm just using a 3/8 impact right now. Then once I get it pulled up all even, then I'll come back with a torque wrench and torque them to factory torque specification. Now you can see here there's a massive improvement just from painting that down with the Black Star rust killer. And I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, I'd like for you to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.